That's something you don't want to do on the recording.
Yeah, well, you're alive.
Oops. Oh, wait, I want to see this shows up here.
Hi, folks. Are you out there? I hope you've got questions. Oh, we've got people. Tempe, Arizona. Hello, Kathy. Oh, and there's Lynn. It's good to see you all, or you see me, I hope. Here we are from Manassas, Virginia, Alabama. Wow. That's fantastic.
Hi, folks. Are you out there?
Good to see you. I hope you have lots of questions tonight because we only have about 4 or 5 on my list. And if that's the case, then you have to listen to that guy. Just,
Alabama.
you know, jabber.
Wow. Are you out
So,
All righty, folks. Thanks for joining us. A short week. It was a quick week.
yeah, just a week ago. But we
I
didn't
would have
want
gone 2 weeks, but we'd be in the middle of
Halloween. and
Halloween stuff. So.
We didn't want the doorbell. Ring, 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 ring.
Well, Halloween, I think, is like on Friday, but I just don't think we wanted to be that quick.
Oh, that's true. That's true.
They're doing Halloween our ward like tonight. They did it.
The trunk or treat over at the church. Looked like fun, but we did not.
Yeah,
We're
old people now.
We're Grinches. We might as well admit it.
Well, I don't have no kids to take, so
Yeah,
we're taking our grandkids to the office building.
to his office party.
My office building has. We open it up in the afternoon before the end of work.
4 floors of wild children
Yeah,
eating candy and all sorts of.
yeah, it's the primo spot for all my grandkids. They want to go there for sure because they got 4 floors, and I would think half or more of the people give out candy.
Oh yeah.
So they just go around the floor, hitting all the cubes, grabbing candy, and then
Yeah.
running to the next floor and grabbing candy. The next one, they come out of that thing and they're like, they can't even carry their bags,
Yeah,
their buckets
moms and
anymore.
dads have to empty it out every so often.
Yeah, because it's just too much.
Which is nice because then when actual Halloween comes, they can just play in their costumes, go to a few neighbors, and they're done.
Yeah, they have all the candy they can have.
We're not giving out candy this year.
Yeah, that's
We're
her
giving
idea.
out a little toy.
That's her idea.
Well, a lot of kids have food allergies.
Yeah. Hello from Atlanta. This one from Atlanta,
Oh,
California.
She's got power. Poor people out there. Our daughter lives out there, and she doesn't say much, but I'm wondering.
Manassas, Virginia, Alabama, Idaho, Rexburg, Vegas, San Antonio, Kansas. Well, welcome everybody. Let's see. Yeah, we don't have a whole lot of questions, but
no, we don't.
it's okay. I got some other stuff that I'll talk about. You need to tell all your friends to come and visit so they can ask more questions. I'm sure you have questions, but it was a short week. So, yeah, I don't know when we'll do something in November. We'll probably only do one in November, probably the first half of November because of Thanksgiving and stuff.
We promise to give more warning or whatever you want to call it prior to
right, and then probably December we'll only do 1 too because I usually take half of December off
well, everybody's got parties and
everyone's busy in December, so we'll probably only have 1 in November, 1 in December, and then we'll start up again in January.
Crank it up in January and go back to regular schedule.
Yeah. Okay, well, let's go to the first one, I guess.
Okay, this is from Marla, and she wants to know, is there a glitch in the how I'm related portion of the family tree? My husband and I share 6 great-grandparents. When I click on how I'm related button for any of my direct descendants, ancestor lines, or their children, it shows the relationship through my husband's line instead of mine. Even my second great-grandfather shows I'm related through my husband. This is on my father's maternal line. There are other weird relationships that show up on the branch of a tree. There are some read-only individuals in the line. Could that cause the problem?
No, read only is not going to cause any problem there.
Maybe she's closer related than she thought.
How am I related? Portion of the tree. How am I related?
You know, you do that. Relatives around.
That's not relatives around me.
Oh, that's not. Oh, yeah.
This is a new one on Family
That's
Tree.
right,
You have to
sorry.
have two people say yes. So then you picked your husband as a contributor and said,
How are we related?
how are we related between the two of you? Then when I click on how related button for any of my direct line ancestors or their children who descend from this couple, it shows a relationship to my husband's line instead. That's probably because it's shorter. So FamilySearch shows the shortest. Right now it shows the shortest relationship. So if it's shorter to go through your husband, it's probably because he has closer deceased than you do, then it would show him as the line. But whenever you're looking between two living people, so I've got to make a note to myself here, because we've always said that when we were doing with living, we had to be careful, because let me just explain for a little minute. It's a little bit complicated, but we'll do a little bit. Whenever you're looking at ancestors, it's pretty accurate. If there's two dead people on one side, then it's going to be accurate. If there's two dead people involved, it's right on.
Boy, you need to clean that board, don't
Yes, I
you?
do, with an actual cleaner.
Ugh.
But if you're doing descendants, then you're talking about living people. When you're talking about living people, then you have copies of living that you have to deal with. So for instance, in this case, it has the husband and spouse. They're both living. And then they have copies of their kids, I'm assuming, inside of each of their private area. And then they have their, there's probably a living here, and then you get dead and dead, kind of like, or no, these lines going up like this. Something that looks like this. I don't know if this is really how it is for this person, but something like this along that lines, where you got a husband over here in their private space, and the spouse is in her private space, and then you say, how am I related to my kids? And that kid is here, and the kid is also over here. So which one does the system take? Well, it's trying to find. It finds the closest, so it goes up and it goes, oh, well, here's a dead person here. There's probably a living, I'm guessing, over here. And so it'll say, well, it goes through your husband's line. So it'll go zoop over to here and then up this way to find that. Especially when you said you and your husband have the same sixth grandparent, then it's likely that it could go through his line, probably because his parents or whatever, or there's closer deceased. Less distance between the deceased and the living than on your particular way. So there's some weird oddities when you're looking at descendants that are living. You're trying to find how you're related. Even on the mobile now, when you do relatives around me, we don't put in how you're related with a string anymore. We just say a close relative, because we can miscalculate. We could say they're an uncle, a brother, a child, or something like that, just because we're trying to figure out what that person really is. And based on each person's private space, it could show different answers. So
that's true.
We were getting confusing and showing weird answers. So we just removed that. And maybe we need to do that in this case as well. So what I'm going to do here, I need to make a quick note in my OneNote thing.
Oh, excuse me.
Yeah.
Oh, well, that's what you get when you don't go to bed at night.
Well, start going to bed at night.
Well, I did, but the
All right,
body
where's
and
my
brain
Facebook?
wouldn't shut off.
Okay. So this one I'm going to put in relationships on fs.org for living descendants. are odd. What number was that, Surname?
464.
Number 464. Okay. What's the next one?
This is from Chris in Australia. And it says, I'm having an issue with my tree. There are times when the system is asking for a standardized place name and it won't recognize the place name I use, which is a legitimate name place. He gives an example PID number. It says, this individual was born in Cromerhyde, Hatfield, Hertfordshire, England, but it won't recognize Cromerhyde. He was married in Geraldton, Queensland, Australia, but it won't accept it. Now, Geraldton later had its name changed to Innisfail to avoid confusion with a Geraldton that was in Western Australia. But at the time of the marriage, it was definitely Geraldton. How do I get these places recognized as standards?
First off, it's not critical that they be recognized as standards. It's often little tiny shires or little tiny towns. It's going to take us forever to get to those places. But I will. So I'll explain a little bit how you're saying it won't take it. I don't believe it won't take it. I believe it doesn't standardize to that. But that's okay. You know, it's still standardized to some level. So he had what was one of them?
He gave a PID number. Is that
No.
what you're asking for? Oh,
Place.
Cromerhyde, England. I mean, if you want all the rest of the stuff.
I want all the rest of the stuff.
Hatfield, Hertfordshire, Hertford, Shire.
Heard.
F.
Heart. It's heart.
Hertfordshire.
Hertfordshire.
Shire. Hertfordshire. So sorry.
Oh, it's English stuff we're not used to. England.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so if this is the place that the person was born, I probably wrote that wrong. Cromerhyde,
No, you got it right.
Hatfield, Hertfordshire, England. The system may only recognize up to here probably, or maybe to here. That's okay.
He's saying it's not even taking this.
Of course, it doesn't know about that one. It's all right. Doesn't hurt anything. Because what it'll do is it'll take what it does and then it'll sit and do a standard. So here's the standard. We'll say just Hertfordshire, England. So this part will be in the standard, and that's okay. It just means when we go to find matches or duplicates or something like that, we're looking for people that have these two in theirs or these three in there without this part here. And that's okay. It doesn't hurt anything. Put it in there. Put it in right in the place and let the standards find what it can find. Now, to request that something add to the standards, you go to, and I'm going to abbreviate here, so don't type it like this. Research places. Go to this right here. I wrote it fast. So FamilySearch.org. Type it all the way out. www.familysearch.org/research/places. Go to there, and there's a place on there where you can push feedback. I think it's still under feedback, and you can type in that full place and say you'd like them to put that on their list to add to the standards. And
see what they do.
sometimes they're really quick. Sometimes it takes a little effort because they got to go verify the place and put some more data in with the stuff.
Wow.
So Mark asks here, says, can we submit questions ahead of the live session? Absolutely. You just come to the Facebook page and there's a form at the top, and you can just click it and it'll have you enter in your name and your question and stuff. You can do as many of those questions as you want, as many times as you want to enter a new entry, and just add another form and fill it in, and then submit it. And later, if you have another question, enter it again. So you can add all the questions you want, and then we go through them on the list. So please do so.
It puts them in when
Puts them in
receive
order.
them.
Yeah, we go through order from the one that was the first one put in since the last time we left, and then we just go in order usually. Once in a while, we take a few from the audience.
You'll sometimes in the comments you'll do that.
Okay, so
There was some up above too.
There were some questions
I
about?
thought so.
Okay, let me
Right.
look here. So we'll take a look, couple from right now.
Right there.
Once you change ordinances and have the limit, and we find more green temples, will there be a way to reserve the name at least to the temple? We actually discussed that today in a meeting, so I'm having one of my guys, I believe it's going to be feasible, but they're off to go do a plan and get back to me about how feasible it is, how much time it's going to take to build. But that's what I want to do too. I want to make it so that if you're at the limit in the future, that you can just go to a person, or you add the person, and you want to just make sure it doesn't get lost. Have I'm thinking like a share button on the ordinance tab. You just push share, and it'll share it to the temple and won't complain about you being at your limit or anything like that. So that's the idea. So yeah, good question and good idea. We're thinking on the same wavelength there, so that's good.
Well, I noticed the last name was Tanner.
Oh, was it?
Yes, it was.
Oh boy. Mark already answered his question.
Did you do that Hatterley one right there?
There's no questions to statement.
Yeah. Oh, okay. There's a question from James.
James Keith, question. Today I see a name in my tree which says I can request ordinances, but it also says it's shared with the temple, not by me. Why is it saying I can request ordinance if it's already shared? I am confused. Okay, this is part of the new process, the new temple process. We want to allow everybody to have an opportunity to take a name to the temple. So what we're doing is you not only have normal green temples in the tree that no one has reserved, and then now when you share with the temple, we're going to we haven't finished this part yet, but the plan is when you share the temple, we're going to show those as green temples in the tree too, probably a little bit different green temple, so that you know that they were previously shared to the temple. Because when you reserve them, you'll only have 90 days to do them in.
Yeah.
But they're going to show up on the ordinance tab. Because some people are just wandering around the ordinance tab, and we want to offer them to all the members so that they can take them, and that way we go through all the ordinances that are being shared with the temple, and we get them done and get more and all that kind of stuff. It's just sort of help share the load of all of that. Well, what you're seeing right now is we started in the first week of October to have our first automated release of reservations based on expiration dates. But we weren't quite done with our software that will show those ordinances as green temple. So we used an old tool that we had that we'd used in previous manual releases that we'd done in prior years. And that tool allows us to share it to the temple and have it show up as a green temple icon in the tree. So for this little bit of time left, it'll take us another, probably into Q1 sometime, January, February, March timeframe. During this time, from now till then, when we have expirations of ordinances, we're sharing with the temple, and then we're marking it on the person page to allow people to reserve them. And so if they reserve them now, it'll take it out of the reservation list and put it on their reservation list for 2 years. In the future, when we do that, it won't take it out of it won't take it out of the original person's reservation list, and you'll only have 90 days to get it done. So that's what's happening. So if one person saw it and thought that things had been broken and they reserved it again, and that's okay, but it now is no longer shared with the temple. So I know it can be a bit confusing, but the idea is we're trying to let all of the ordinances that are either in the temple or in the tree never been reserved, or all the ordinances that are in the temple lists will all be available for anybody in the tree to grab and do. That's the idea. So we get more and everybody helping. So we'll get used to it. It'll feel better as we go along. You'll feel better about it. Okay. Yeah, that's nice. Thank you, Lee, for putting a reference to the question table, to the question thing. Do you have any updates on family search groups? No, we're still working on the plans. We're supposed to have those by the end of the month. So I just saw the movie Fighting Preacher. Ron Tanner is listed as a contributor in the credits. Is this you? No, it is not.
It's his cousin.
It's my cousin, lives up in Salt Lake. My wife's met him.
I actually went up one day because he offered a free video to the Tanner relatives and took my kids with me and walked in and I said, "Hi there, honey. How are you?" And he kind of looked at me and I said, "Well, I'm married to Ron Tanner," and he about dropped over dead. But we sure had a good giggle over that. So T.C. Christensen is a relative as well as the Ron Tanner, but we don't do movies.
No, yeah, that's a different Ron Tanner.
He
And
does.
I hear The Fighting Preacher's really good. That's one of the movies we want to go see. We haven't seen it yet. And he's a nice guy.
Yeah, they do great work. It's lovely. I really like it.
But it's not me. I don't have time. I don't have the skills nor the time to do
Nor
that.
does he have the talent to do movies like that?
No,
He's not.
not that. Do you do a indexing question live as well? I don't do a separate one. If you have indexing questions, you're welcome to submit them. If I don't know the answer, then I'll get an answer, and then usually the next time or the time after that, I have an answer, and we'll shout out the answers.
He doesn't work in the indexing department. That's a separate division. So
Yeah, but the guy who does it sits right next to me.
he can get a hold of it.
So I get a hold of who I need to. So you're welcome to answer any questions on anything that's going on in FamilySearch.org or anything they're doing with FamilySearch. And then if I don't know the answer, I'll go get the answer, and I'll share it with you the next time we meet. Is FamilySearch allowing same-sex relationships yet? The answer is no. It will be coming. It would be nice to see labels in the Family Tree app. Well, we'll talk about labels in a minute.
Okay. All right.
Put labels down. We can talk about it
Write it on my note
on my
paper.
free time because we don't have any more.
Well, we have.
Some questions. So
We do. This is from Sharon. It says, does the new policy for sealing to spouses only apply to ordinance ready, or does it apply to my own temple file as well? I cannot find an updated knowledge article in the Learning Center. I recently was able to do some sealing work for a family member that had been sitting in my temple file for over 5 years, waiting for the father's work to be done. I had contacted people who have the reservation many times asking for it, but did not get it. So is that one of those circumstances where you can do
sealing
sealing
the spouse you can always do out of order. Sealing the parent. Sealing the parent, we encourage you to do BCIE first and then do sealing the parent after that.
You don't want a dangling ants.
But the parents, you can seal the child to the parents without the parents having their ordinances done. So that's okay too.
Okay.
And that's actually always been the case. There was just been confusion out there, and it kind of swept through the temples. And so we're just trying to reemphasize that that's the case. The knowledge article it talks about it says, maybe somebody can find it while we're talking here today, so I don't have to look around for it. But there's a knowledge article that talks about, the term is whenever possible. So that means what I'm interpreting that is, and I've talked to others if I'm interpreting it correctly, is if you own all the ordinances about a person, then you ought to do them in order. If you don't own all the ordinances for the person, and what you have is sealings or a sealing the parent, then you could go ahead and do those sealing the parents and sealing the spouses. Sealing the parents without doing the parents.
It's on hold until everything else is done, and then
because sealings are sort of a different beast, so it's acceptable to do those.
Yeah, Lord kind of wants us all connected.
He does.
There we go. Here's from another. I don't know if it's the same Sharon or not, but here's a question from Sharon. It says, I love that you can attach the missionary sources from the church history library now with just a click of a button. However, unlike FamilySearch, the source can be attached multiple times by multiple people. I have experimented and was able to attach the same source to my grandfather multiple times. What can we do to stop the duplication?
No, that's not supposed to happen. So can you send me the PID? Send me it on ron@familysearch.org. Send me the PID and tell me again what the problem is, that you went to the church history side, and on the church history page, they're supposed to say, click to add it to an ancestor, and you can click. And what's supposed to happen now, that they must have broken something. This is on church history side. They broke this once before, but they're supposed to, if it's already attached, they're supposed to show the PID that it's attached to and the name.
Mm.
But they're probably not. They probably broke something there, and so now it allows you to attach to all over the place. So please send me an email, ron@FamilySearch.org, telling me about it and give me a PID example where it's attached multiple times, and then we'll go chase it down and get it fixed.
Somebody lost their mind and put it back in the program.
Well, see, that's easy
It's
to do.
easy to do. All right, here's one from Karen. It says, why does the Family Tree app give me individuals that need ordinances completed, but they're not related to me?
Okay, so the way the Family Tree app works is you can push a button to download like 6 generations of your tree, and then as you expand your tree, it'll add those people to your tree into your database. What the Family Tree app does also is when somebody calls you on the phone and say, hey, could you take a look at this PID? And you go and type in the PID to go look at it, it also stores that in the database. Or any of those other, or you wander around off in Never Lands, and it stores all that in the database. So anything you look at on the mobile app gets stored in the mobile app database. So when you get hints, you'll get offered for anything you stored in the database. If you have ordinances, you'll get them offered to you for anything that's stored in the database.
Cool.
So you can go ahead and do it. I mean, no one's gonna shoot you, I don't think. But if that bothers you, then what you need to do is uninstall the app, reinstall the app, and start again. Push the button to download the 6 generations, and then go from there.
Okay, this is from Mary. Would you repeat what you said the last time about
I said last time.
Sorry, he's being obnoxious. He's
Yeah.
been that way lately.
It's been a rough.
It's been a rough little week.
Month or two.
Yeah, he's been busy. Anyway, would you repeat what you said the last time about grandchildren reserving ordinances for relatives within the 110-year window? Did you say that they can do that now?
Okay. 110 years rule says that if the person has, if the person is not more than 110 years old, then only close living relative, then you have to get, and you're not a close living relative, then you have to get permission from one of the close living relatives. Now, because, many times grandchildren of those ancestors are the first ones and only ones who try to reserve them because it's right in their line.
Yeah.
Then exception was given to us to allow us to allow close living relatives, which is parents, spouses, siblings, or children, and grandchildren can reserve those ordinances. Now, you don't have to do anything special. If the person's a grandkid, they'll go to their great-grandfather or their grandfather, whatever it is, and they won't see the restriction. They'll just see it's ready, and they'll push the button, and they reserved it. So we're not going to block them or anything. But if they're outside of that set, including the grandchild, then you do see the restriction and have to go through the process.
It's not a bad process, really. I had to do it with one of mine, and it's not too relatively pain-free.
Yeah, just need to get permission and then enter who gave you permission and their contact information. In case we need to contact them because there's a dispute about it or something.
Yeah. Just make sure that when you do, you give them the appropriate information, and it just worked pretty fast. We have this one by Fred that we read. It's quite long. It talks about users and sources.
Okay, so I'll just mention a little bit.
Yeah, it's quite long, and it would take me forever to read it.
So Fred, I'm going to read all the way through it, and I'd love you to send me an email so that I can respond back to you in email. But essentially what Fred's talking about is if you have a lot of sources in your source box, then it's hard to find a source. And I guess there were apparently 3 years ago in some Get Satisfaction post, we were talking about potentially doing a search within the source box. You can find things. I think that's a nice way to answer it, but we have not invested any time in building a search system. We'd have to build a whole new search system just like we do for search records and things like that. And that's just time consuming, and we haven't gotten to the top of the priority list to do that. What most people tend to do, if you look at what I've seen for most people, when they have a source box and lots of sources, they tend to create file folders for each person, and they tend to just stick the sources into those persons.
In the folders.
And then the folders, I think they're in order of creation or something. You might be able to rearrange them or something. But this one, is this one of the ones I wrote down?
I thought you did.
I think I wrote it down. So I'll go talk to.
Noticed that it was very long and didn't want to
take all that time
take all
to
your
read
time. Plus, maybe sometimes gets lost when you have so much. But
Yeah, so
but they're good questions.
Oh, no, I got
You
it.
didn't put that one down?
So let's see. What's the number?
Hold on.
It'd be
470. Yeah, it was Fred.
470. About
Use sources in their source
search.
Box. Oh, so yeah, search for sources.
Search in source box. Yeah, and this is where he also said only shows you so many of the soul and so many at a time. Okay.
You guys amaze me. You are so far advanced for me, and I have him right here. He's a horrible personal tutor.
I am a great tutor.
Not for me.
That's because
Sister Nelson loves him. Wendy. Anyway, this is one from a gentleman named Peter Williams. He says, I am not a member, but my father is. So when I log in to his account, I notice that his account has record hints that do not show up in my non-member account. Why is this so?
Where is that? Paraphrased.
I was afraid to put that record in there because
That's all right.
to do. I didn't know that the non-member was able to.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so in this particular case, what Sheree left out was that this particular person, the father, is not a member of the church.
No.
So they're a public account.
No, he's the non-member and the father is.
Oh, okay. So this person is a public user, meaning not a member of the LDS Church, and the father is a member of the LDS Church. And they go in to look at the different accounts, and there are hints that one sees that another doesn't see.
He's saying his private doesn't have everything that his father's member account has. He's got the private account over here, and his.
No,
father,
he's talking about record hints, though. Let's not confuse it with living.
Sorry.
So,
but I'm just saying,
I understand.
when he sees this, and then he sees this on his dad's.
I see it.
Okay.
I get it.
Okay.
So his dad, his member, shows more hints than what the son sees because he has a non-member account. He has a public user account. And the reason for that is in some of our record collections, the owners of those collections put conditions on who we can share these records with. Okay. Now, all the records should be available in family history centers, and you can find them there. But they have some of the record holders have restrictions, and some of those restrictions are you can only show it to members of the LDS Church. There's other restrictions we have that say, well, you can only show it in a family history center, for instance, or you can only. I think that's pretty much the major ones of them. So. So it doesn't matter about father or son or anything. It just means that a person who has a public account and is not a member of the church will not see all of the potential hints that exist for a particular person in the tree. Now, it's supposed to work. The permission we have is once any source is attached to a person in the tree, then everybody should be able to see it once it's attached. So if a member attaches a source to a person in the tree, that source was restricted to only members can see, doesn't matter. As soon as it's connected to a person in the tree, then anybody in the tree sees that source. That was absolutely essential because the arguments and discussions and validity of the person is based on the sources. And if everybody can't see all the same sources, then that will cause arguments and chaos and problems and the end of the world, whatever. Okay. So it was imperative that once it's attached and used on that person, then everybody has to see it. So that's why it's just because record custodians who own the records, oftentimes they need to make money themselves, so they limit the power that FamilySearch has to share it. Some are fine, and we share it with everybody, and some are not, and we only share it to members. And then if they get a test, the non-members will see it. Okay.
Okay. Well, we have now finished all the questions
Well, there
that
you
I
go.
have, and the last one was dated today.
All right. So
So-
here's some more here, and then I got some things I'll talk about. Are there any updates about adding short video clips to memories? We're still investigating. We have a potential path for videos. I don't know when or if we'll ever even do it. It seems like it's potentially feasible, but the team is currently working with it, and I am waiting for a response back. It's not going to happen soon because this is a delicate thing, and we want to make sure that we get a good arrangement. We have a partner that helps us review our photos and stuff, because we don't want to have any potential issue where a member would see things that would be inappropriate. So we hire other organizations who do this as their offering, and they help us with that. So that's what we're working through. And when you ever have that, you got a big long negotiation about cost and how it would work and how data would transfer back and forth. So that's a big deal. So it'll probably take a while. There's you go. She fixed the problem for Peter yesterday. Thank you, Lynn. He didn't have the record hint box ticked. So it wasn't a particular record that was only for members, although we have those. It
He
wasn't
just
in that
hadn't
case.
indicated to,
He hadn't indicated to say, show me the
I'm
record
so
hints.
glad.
That's good. What if a person has 2 accounts? Well, yeah, it doesn't matter. I don't care. I mean, if you can't have more than 1 member account, but you could have a member account and a non-member account or a public account. You could have 2 public accounts. I'm sure there are plenty of people that have more than 1 account. It's just only one of them can be associated with your membership number, which designates you to see member type things like ordinances and so forth. And then the non-member or the public account, you can have a bunch of those. I actually at one point in time had like 5 non-member accounts, but it was mostly because I was testing stuff early on in Family Tree.
Well, and he was using it.
And I was
to
demoing to
demoing and he
show how to
didn't want it.
register and all that kind of stuff. So I had to create a new account.
We
all the
had
time.
some really interesting names.
All righty. So if you have questions, start asking, and we'll pick those up. In the meantime, I knew that I was going to be short tonight, so I went off and listed a few things that I think I can probably safely talk to you about. All right. So I want to talk about some things that some we're starting to work on, some we're still discussing, of features that we are going to try to work on and deliver in 2020. One is what we call, and I don't know if I've talked about this before, what we call topics. Kind of internally, they're fumbling around with topic tags or topics or whatever. So the idea is, let me tell you how this would work. The idea with topics, the idea was we need to help people find memories. What we find is when people start wanting to find memories to share with their children or their family or friends, they're all often looking for a particular kind of memory, like a family getaway or a World War II picture that they want to show, or a picture about or a testimony that they want to find that some relative had written their testimony. So the idea with topics is we're going to allow you to assign a topic to a memory, and you can assign that topic to multiple memories. So some may be, for instance, I spelled that right. And so you can imagine, and we'll let you choose your own topics. And so we have things like, we certainly think there would be room for something like World War II. And so you would put that topic tag, you go to a memory and you say, add topics. And when you say add topics, you'll be able to type this in, and this topic will become known. And so if others are using the same topic, it'll just pop up for you. Put WW and it'll pop up all the ones that start with WW, you pick it. And so part of me feels like it's like a hashtag thing, but the engineer says it's not like a hashtag because you can't embed it in the middle of the text. So you write your story up or you have your picture, and then you'll go to a different part on the page and you'll say add, these topics or something to that picture. And then what you would be able to do is you go to the gallery or the memories, or probably maybe in the tree if we can get that figure out how to deal with that. And you'd say, show me stories about World War I, where the topic is World War I, or World War I and testimony, something like that is the idea. It'll probably start off small, like only one topic at a time. We'll probably get into multiple topics. And then you just enter it in, and then bam, shabam, we'll just show you, like in the find you do now, you enter in the topics, and boom, we'll just show you all the memories that have those topics on it. So it makes it really quick to find testimonies, World War II, school pictures, anything you could think of. And of course, the power is everybody kind of uses the same topics. That way you see everything in FamilySearch that have World War II or World War I or, I don't know, some event, family picnic or something like that. I don't know. That's the idea behind topic tags. Okay, the next one we're working on, this is the one we're working on, is we are going to support, we're in the process of adding more languages to FamilySearch. And these additional languages are not going to be for the whole site because it's just costly. So we're thinking of doing a portion of the site like registration and login and the home page and search, hints and messages and memories and family tree, all of those elements, and mobile apps will be on the list. And we're going to add significant more languages. I don't know if I have a ready way to go to jump to all the languages. So, and we're already starting work on that. I think we're going to add, we're working on 10 or 15 more languages to the site. We think that will be beneficial to people around the world who have other languages that have been forced to use a particular language. And so we think that would be very valuable. We're also working on an improved merge. So when you do a merge, we just show you the two sides and you pick what side you want. But we want to make it more flexible, and we want to provide guidance in the merge, because merge is a complicated process, and it's the most destructive if done inappropriately. Because people don't bring relationships, they leave things behind, and that's always the issue. Whenever you merge, you need to bring over all the relatives, the parents and the children, because they may need to be merged too, and you need to do that. You shouldn't just cut a person off out of the family. You should merge the duplicate together always, because one will have ordinances and the other won't, and when you merge it, they'll have it. The merged copy will have it, for example. So you always want to merge them together. But anyway, in this new merge thing we're looking at doing, we're going to put in warnings and suggestions like, be careful because the birth date of these two people is more than 3 or 4 years. I can't remember exactly where we're at, 3 or 4 years apart. So you may need to, these may not be the same people. Or this father doesn't match the father, and so maybe this is a different family, things like that. Or and we'll continue to improve it. This will be our first round. I want to continually improve it to things like the distance between that person's birthplace and this person's birthplace is more than 50 miles. And in 1820, nobody traveled further distances than 3 or 4 miles apart. And things like that to help guide people in making good choices, understanding what to look for when we're trying to give advice and training, and also warn when things look like they're out of whack. So that's the idea there. Several of you have helped out by suggesting some of this stuff on Get Satisfaction posts, And we appreciate that. And it's all part of your ideas that are mingling with ours to start working on things like that. We're also going to we're also working on improving the change history. So the change history sometimes feels overwhelming to people, and it's really a powerful tool for you to restore a person back to what it was that might have got messed up. And so we're redesigning the change log so that you can see, when I was looking at it today, I just saw the updates today, the prototype examples. It looks good. I mean, it looks like they want to expand the things that you can look at, like all the residence changes, and you can just look at them in one whack and pick which ones are good or bad or whatever, or like you can do with vitals with the birth or the name and stuff. Just kind of extend that a little bit more, show it in a little different way that makes more sense. So that's some of the stuff we're working on for next year. I got some more here, but let me answer a question here. FamilySearch.org campaign patrons is not showing me any ring temples for anybody in my ward. I'm in a meeting of family history consultants and nobody else sees them either. Problem in Salt Lake? I don't know. I'm assuming they're logging in. They won't be able to see anything without logging in. So let me go see real quick. This is a relatively new thing. It hasn't been announced as far as I know. So you're talking about stuff that hasn't even been announced as far as I'm aware. But it seems to be working for me because I just went to it and I see a bunch of people from our ward that have some record hints. So the purpose of the this opportunity campaign, it really grew out of outside of the United States. Because what's happening outside of the United States is a lot of people don't have emails. And so they use things like WhatsApp and stuff like that. They don't do email very much at all. And so the problem is how do we help a consultant in those countries be able to tell members in their ward that they have an opportunity, a record opportunity or a temple one. And so we experimented and hit upon sending the consultants a list of everybody in their ward that has a record hint or a temple opportunity or whatever, and then they can copy and paste that and share that with that particular person in their ward through their WhatsApp, which is what all of them use, like texting, for those who haven't done a WhatsApp. And this also, because it was getting out there, some people saw it, and so it's kind of grassroots kind of grown out. I would say, Keith, need to send me more information what it's doing. I suspect you just weren't necessarily logged in. You probably timed out or something like that. So make sure you try it again and you log in first, and then go click it and see, and then send me an email. Let me know if it's not working or not, or what it's showing, and then I'll send that off to the person who's doing that feature. Okay, let's see. I'm gonna go look and see here. Would the topics tie to just your family or extended family, or the full database of the tree? Goes to the full database. Anybody can use any of the topics that somebody adds, and because that's the way you get everybody marking their memories in the right way. Because this isn't a community can add topics. I don't think. I think the first round it's the owner adds topics. I think we're considering that. We're looking at memories to see if it can mirror more like the tree, but they're not prepared to do that yet. So I think it's just the owner. I'll have to double check on that though. That's a good question I just asked myself.
Yeah.
James says, when you enter a surname and find under memories, does it show only those people related to you or anybody with that surname? Memories just searches anybody with that surname. So it doesn't matter whether they're related to you or not. So you'd have to click to go see how you're related to that person if you're looking for that. Linda says, is there a way to not have a divorced spouse show up in a family tree? Yeah, you can remove them from your tree. So if you're married and it probably built your tree for you with you and your spouse in there, and I'm sorry if you had experienced that, or somebody has. We have a daughter who had one of those. I had no idea how difficult divorce can be on the whole family, but it is, and all the surrounding
To
relatives.
watch her child, and it's even what we dealt with, which was minuscule.
Yeah. But anyway, I'm sorry for that. But if you're a person who no longer wants to see their spouse on the family tree, all you have to do is edit the relationship, edit the your spousal relationship on your living person, and just say remove spouse, and you click the little edit button, which is the square with a little pencil in it, and then you remove the spouse, and then that person won't be seen anymore unless you add them back. So you're welcome to do that. Can we help beta test the new features? Well, you're always welcome to go to beta if you want, beta.familysearch.org. We sort of really don't do a whole lot of community beta stuff unless it's something particularly significant that we need assistance with. We have enough testing and stuff like that going on. And then we release it to you, and if there's something we happen to miss, you tell us right away. But usually we're pretty good. We don't usually have too many troubles usually on most of the stuff we do. But you can certainly, if we have some questions, we'll certainly loop you in to help us understand what's best, what the customer may want. Why is my mouse not working? Where is my mouse? Over here. Oh, here's this thing here. Okay. Linda, an improved source linker would be helpful too, where we can move over the better birthday. Yeah, that's something they're going to have to work on right now. That team's particularly busy on some other things they need to finish this year. But there's rules that they have to follow. That's the reason why the source linker doesn't allow you to bring over a date or edit the conclusions, is because the rule of family tree says you have to be able to see the current conclusion, who contributed it, when they contributed it, their reason statement, and all the sources that prove that conclusion is correct before you can edit it or modify it. And they have to supply that as part of the source linker, and that's some significant work they'll have to do that. We're looking at new designs that would help facilitate that, and they just have not had an opportunity at this time to focus on that. They have some other things they need to focus on. Okay, but it's certainly, we have that on the list, and it's certainly discussed a lot. And there's plenty of people who are asking about the same thing. Yeah, if you're just seeing record instant discovery experiences in that list, then that just means there aren't any temple ones that are available for them in the set. Okay. So if they had temple ones, it would show. Well, actually, let me look. Did any of these opportunity ones have temple ones in them, Cherie? Did you notice? They may not be doing temple yet. Well, it says temple hint opportunity. Yeah, look at my ward, and there's no temple ones either. All right. So what I'll do is I'll go and send an email to the dude that's over this, and let me make a note here.
I don't know that I'd want to get that kind of an email from Ron.
Oh, I'm not that.
Get busy.
They don't work for me, so I can't yell at them like that.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
We still have to talk nice, huh?
Always talk nice.
He does. He's very well liked as a boss.
Ordinances are not
What these are?
showing. And let's see, what is that thing called? Campaign patrons. Okay, got that done. All righty. Let's see. We'll have to find out why there's no green temples. You said they were there before. Why do I find names in my tree that have been added by FamilySearch with no attached sources? Well, there's lots of reasons why things may have FamilySearch as the contributor. So let me tell you a few of them. This is Wendy asked this question. When we moved all the data from new FamilySearch.org, for those of you who remember that old system, when we moved data from that database into Family Tree, we started by putting people's names in that contributed to data. And we started to get a lot of phone calls, people saying, somebody's hacked my account because I wasn't on the account, yesterday or 2 weeks ago or whatever. And so it caused a lot of panic. So then we had to go back and undo all of that and then re-import it into the new system. But now we used FamilySearch as the contributor because that way people didn't feel like their accounts were compromised. But it also then makes you think that we put FamilySearch is putting a lot of data in there. And that's not the case. We do sometimes, if we discover that we made a big mistake, like one time we were transferring a bunch of Chinese names over, and we accidentally flipped the first name and the last name.
Oops.
And people had already contributed to them, so we had to do a data fix-up to fix the names right. Well, when we did the fix, we marked it as FamilySearch is doing it because we didn't want anybody freaking out that they made a change or their account was compromised. So and then the only other time, so it's either when we're migrating from one system to the next, when we're doing a mass fix-up like millions of records, or if somebody sends in a support case and an admin picks up that support case and that support case asks them to go check out some data and fix it if it needs to be fixed, then when that support person fixes things, it will show up as FamilySearch to you. We know which support person did it, but we don't expose that because they're not the person to contact. They were acting as an admin. Okay, so that's the reason why FamilySearch will show up. We don't attach sources because we're usually not creating people. It looked like we created people, but that's just because we transferred people. And if we create or edit or lock, then we actually do add sources because we're going to lock them. We want to make them sure they're right. But other than that, we don't do that. Been talking too much. Throat's getting right out there. I saw Green Temples when I looked at it on Sunday. Yeah, something must have happened over the week. So I'll talk to the person who's doing that. Do I wish I were in Rootstick, London?
No.
I'm okay. I have a hard time flying in planes anymore.
He flew so much in his previous jobs and he doesn't fit well in this.
They're just uncomfortable. I feel apprehensive sometimes in planes, especially when there's turbulence.
He's been hit
just
by lightning.
I've been hit by lightning. I've had all sorts of things happen in the plane. Spin sideways and slam into the runway. I'm just not interested in doing that. And I wasn't invited. So it's a pretty select set of people that were invited to go to London just because it's new. It's the first time they've done it there. Mm-hmm. I had to send 5 of my guys over there. They were the ones requested, but I wasn't requested. So I'm okay. I'm all right with them having that experience. I've been to London before.
It's a wonderful
yeah.
place.
When I went, I took Cherie with me. She loved it. She had a great time.
We did. We went to Scotland too, which is wonderful.
Yeah. Have green temples for ancestors with no birth or death date. Should I guess about dates so their work can be done? It is appropriate if you can find, if you've attempted to find sources and you can't find sources, it is appropriate to approximate the source. There's actually the date. There's actually if you go to the person page and you're looking at the date, the birth or something like that. If there's no birth, it will show you a little circle with an eye on it for information. And when you do that, what it's going to show is, let me see, I'm going to go create an occupation. So it has a little eye next to like date of occupation in this case. If you click that, it tells you a little bit about how to estimate, and then it has a link to learn what to do when you do not know an exact date. So go to that, and it'll send you to an article that talks about general rules of thumb that you can use. And I'll put it in there right there. I'll put the URL. So that's the URL I just posted that goes to that article. I guess I should have replied on that one there. And it goes to that article that talks about how to go about approximating dates. So that's okay. We certainly don't want people to just randomly approximate everything. So it's best to look for a source. But if you've made a reasonable effort to find the source and you haven't been able to find one, it's okay to approximate a date, and as long as you use good principles to do so. And then, of course, you should continually try to find the source, and if it does, then that's good. Then go put it in. Let's see what I want. Okay, here I am. Have Green Temple. Okay, went and got my Chromebook so I could check. Green Temples are gone. Yeah, okay. I believed it when the first couple or two said it. What about duplicates? There are too many. Well, keep working on them. There's less and less every day. Part of the problem about all the duplication is when we moved from New FamilySearch to FamilyTree, we realized that we couldn't simulate the merges on the new FamilyTree without. It would have taken us 3 years to do that, and we didn't want to wait 3 years to do that. So what we did is we just took the selectable summary, for those of you who knew that, and brought that over to FamilyTree. Well, that means that all of the merged ones underneath there would have been essentially hidden if they weren't supposed to be merged. Or back then we called it combining. It was a different way that they did it. It was called combining. Well, we realized that there were probably certain sets of people that were incorrectly combined. And so before we transferred all the data over to FamilyTree, we went through a process where we uncombined millions and millions of names. We actually went down to anybody who had more than 400 combined in them, which was not that big, because we started out the tree by just throwing everything in from every database, and then having the machine determine which ones. Have the machine determine which are duplicates, and then go examine it and merge them together. So anybody that had more than 400 merged in or combined in, we broke them apart, and so that generated several million of people. I'm sure that there's a million or so that were busted out. So we're sorry, but we felt it was more important, especially for these ones that were way back in the past, where there's not a lot of sources and a lot of people. Everybody named everybody John. Every guy was named John. Every girl was named Mary, and every boy John, every girl Mary, and so they ended up getting combined. So we wanted to break those all apart so that they could be redecided if they were really the right people. So there's a lot of duplicates. Keep working on it. We do monitor the number of duplicates, or the percentage of duplicates that partners and others bring into the system. If we see them start climbing in the percentage of duplicates, we contact that partner and say, you need to look at your algorithms. We need to see what's going on there while you're adding duplicates. There was a bug or two that happened in a couple of partner products that caused a lot of duplicates to be added. There's also people who refuse, to say that they're duplicates. They always say not a match, and if we see people doing that a lot, we'll contact them and say something to them about it. But we have to trust that they know what they're doing when they say they're not a match. But sometimes they just feel that their version needs to be the one that's in there. Here's June says she was hit by lightning when in my car. I've never been hit by lightning in the car. There was one time when I was a kid and we were in the old station wagon. The road got hit by lightning right next to us. I remember seeing the block of rock bust apart. My dad was driving. We were in the station wagon, and it was scary. And it was like,
there's a new story I haven't heard.
Yeah, sorry. So those nightmares come back.
Mm-hmm.
Can you talk about the reason why I'm going over a little bit, and that's okay. So these are good questions that you could ask in the future. So please go in and fill out forms so we have the list and we can just go right through them. Okay, can you talk about the reasons some PIDs are locked? Yeah. I believe right now we have too many locked. We're going through a process of figuring out which things we need to keep locked and what things we need to unlock. We've unlocked a lot already. Normally where we lock is for particular famous people or infamous people. We also lock, prophets, deceased prophets and apostles, particularly notable of those. And then we'll lock presidents of countries and a few notable figures in these countries. Unfortunately, in the past, in the new FamilySearch era, there wasn't real fine control on the locking. And so back in the past, if somebody was submitting bad stuff, they would their only defense was to lock it. So they'd lock it so nobody would combine into it. Nobody would change it or edit it or anything, and they'd deal with it later. And there ended up being lots of those. And so we're still combing through that set of locked ones to see which ones we're going to, I think they've got their list of ones they want to clean up and keep locked properly, and then the rest to unlock it. I'll have to visit with with the support folks I work with to see where we are on that, to see if we've unlocked all the ones yet. But I don't think we have. So that's why we lock it. It's just because they're important and notable people, and we try to make them right and correct, and then we don't want anybody to change them. Locking is not, people often talk about wanting to, provide a way for us to lock their stuff, and it doesn't help. All that locking does is tell everybody else, go make another copy of it. Go make a duplicate. That's what happens. We've seen that every time and time again, where we try to work with people and they disagree, and then we lock, and they request a lock, we lock, and they just go make a duplicate of it. So it doesn't really help to do what we really need to do, which is only have one profile for every person. Yeah, I wish there was streaming more of London. I haven't seen the streams, but I just haven't had time to sit and watch them, but I'm planning on looking at a couple of them. Okay, Ginger Scott. So getting them temple ready is more important than accuracy. I don't think I said that. Can I replay the video? I didn't say that calculating about dates was more important than accuracy. I think I said a couple of times to make sure that the most important thing you do is find a legitimate source and keep looking for a legitimate source. But if you've done an exhaustive search and you can't find the source, it's appropriate to put in an approximation. And you put in an approximation, you should note that that's an approximation. You should say about 1810 or calculated 1810. Those are all things you can put in that get standardized. That means this is a guess, this is an approximation. I don't have any data, and I haven't been able to find any data. And you should put in,
of my knowledge.
And you should put it in the reason statement that you've looked in all of these, you looked in all of the records, you've searched all the stuff in FamilySearch, and you can't find anything about this person, so you're approximating the date.
Mm-hmm.
But if the person's real, the person's real. I'm assuming you're not putting in fake people. If you're putting in a real person and you know they exist because they're on some record, you just don't have their date, their birth date. They're real, and so they need temple work too. So, okay, and mostly the approximation and the abouts we're allowing a little more readily, because in some countries they don't know their birth dates. They don't have records.
They don't keep them.
We have Africa that we're off doing oral histories for, that we're gathering oral histories. We try to get dates out of them. Most of the names they give us, the old elders that have in their head memorized all of the leaders of the tribe back 10, 15 generations, they don't know when they were born. They just know their names and
where they fit in
the son of that tribe leader, and that he became the next ruler of the tribe, and none of those are going to have dates because they just didn't have them, and they don't have the records to have them.
They didn't think.
We have to allow it to happen. Yeah, and this particular one, they're from Italy. I have to go back there and get them. Yeah, you have to go back there. You have to go visit the Italy temple and go check it out. Oh, now you've given her another idea. All right.
I'm going to start traveling by myself or
Mhm.
take a
I
child.
told you to go with your daughter.
I'm going to Germany with my brothers.
Are you?
Told you that, yeah. Yeah. My dad promised my mom he would take her to Germany where my grandfather served a mission. He never did before she passed away. So now we're going to take the money they leave us and we're going to go to Germany to the mission where our grandfather served.
Yeah.
And Ron's
Okay,
going to stay home and take care of the dog.
Yeah, and so Ginger and others, point them where they can find those Italian records. Give them a couple of hints. All right, everybody, we kind of gone over a little bit. I'm sorry about that. Started on time, but we went over. And I don't mind going over now and then just because.
And
I
we were
certainly-
worried that we wouldn't have enough.
Yeah, we were worried I'd have nothing to talk about.
But that's not a problem.
And I didn't get all the way through my list, I don't even think. Stuff
Mm.
that we're thinking about for 2020. That's great. Gives me some more things to talk about later if it gets short. Thank you very much. You all are wonderful. I appreciate all that you do, the support you give, and the work you do in Family Tree. You are blessing lives everywhere.
Don't eat too much Halloween candy.
Yeah, and have fun. And we'll see you next time. We'll post
Probably about 2 weeks.
Yeah, we'll post it on the thing. And remember, we're probably only going to have one in November and one in December. So thanks very much, and we'll see you later.